Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. With me in the studio is Nora Bosibore. She is a policy analyst. Vivienne Tai is communications and public affairs expert. Ken Babu is National Youth Chairperson, the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAPK. Alex Mayore is communications director, the Third Way Alliance Party. Supeo Seminkur is youth leader, the county of Kajiado, and Hilda Mawanda is a financial expert. Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining the team here on the broadcast.
Thank you.
What's your view of what happened yesterday in Parliament?
Well, Ayuba can say that, in fact, just to pick it up, yesterday we had a launch of our strategic plan, and we were able to host a group of MPs. And almost all of them were complaining that they are receiving anonymous texts from everybody telling them to reject the finance bill. I think from where I sit, that is the feeling on the ground. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are just, that's an expression of what's happening on the ground. And openly thinking, that's the thing that they should do. They need to reject that bill, and they need to look into that budget carefully to ensure that indeed the person they are representing in that house his or her issues are well catered for and well factored in. Just to bring it up on the direction of the young people, we saw the CS talking about 16.3 billion shillings. Set aside for digital, superhighway, and economy. Mm-hmm. I think there should be clarity and more information on who is going to benefit on this. You know, the youth issue is so amorphous, and everybody stands up and talks about the young people. There should be a proper clarification and breakdown on who is going to benefit. Are we talking about the teenagers? Are we talking about the children? Or are we talking about the young adults? So, who is going to benefit on this, and which programs are going to be initiated to account for this 16.3 billion? So what I can say based on what happened yesterday, the budget was read, and I think what we are lacking is the breakdown. Mm-hmm. If we say this amount of money is set aside for this program, we need to get the nitty-gritties. What are these programs? Who are the beneficiaries? What's the progress? And how long is it going to take?
Okay. Hilda, coming to you. The proposal to upscale the excise duty on mobile and internet services from 15 to 20%, how will this have an impact on the young people's lives who depend on internet by a large majority? And that was a drive that was largely caused by the feeling that they were sidelined by the center. Mm. And the justification they often provide is that the policy players necessarily have no focus or an attention on them, therefore moving to the digital side, making some content and some good money out of that. Will this not be a detriment to a population that always feels that they are not part of the equation and largely seen as being on the menu than on the table? Yeah.
So for the excise duty, of course, then by increasing it, though there were conflicting information, because previously they said 20 to 15, then back to 15.
Actually, it was 20, reduced it to 15, and now back to 20.
Okay.
And the inconsistency therein.
Yeah, because I think there was confusion there. But in terms of the youth, definitely this is an impact on the youth and the creative industry space. As FinChurch, we work a lot with the youth in the creative industry, and we can already see a situation where you're trying to encourage the youth to enter into this kind of space, but at the same time, it's been hindered by this kind of taxes. However, for the government, it is important that as you budget knowing who you're focusing on. Mm-hmm. It's an easy win to say you'll focus on people with a pay slip, and get the taxes from there. But at the same time, spread it out such that everyone is able to contribute to the economy that way. But we know as Kenyans, we contribute to these taxes, but corruption also is what we hear every day. So the feeling is that even if I'm contributing to this, we are not being inspired trust not being inspired, such that you say, I'm contributing to these taxes by my taxes, but at the same time, I'm able to receive services from the government. The government always talks about that they are pro-youth, Mm-hmm. And you need to walk the talk. If you're pro-youth, then it should be very evident that there are allocations for the youth, and at the same time, inspiring the youth also to contribute to this. By saying that you will increase the taxes, the youth maybe do not feel inspired as at now. I agree with the fact that some of these industries are still blossoming. So give them time. Give them time to, to set their footing, then you can be able to tap into their resources that way.
So basically, which means then that we need to create more income and then probably get some good revenue from them.
Yeah, if you create the environment for business to thrive, of course, and people will be able to happily contribute. That's always what I feel, that if for sure I'm able to receive services for what I'm contributing to, then I've got no problem. But I contribute to these taxes day in, day out, in every way we can. But at the same time, there's a lot of corruption going on. There's wastage, as someone has said in this panel, a lot of wastage. So evidence that you're going to curb those wastage, evidence that austerity measures are for sure true and not rhetoric, then it inspires the youth, because the youth are the ones who are supposed to build this economy. They are the majority. If you're not going to have the youth build the economy, who are you going to bank on?
Okay, yes, Nora, you had a point. I'll come to you, Ken.
Just to top up on the youth agenda, first and foremost, from the 2019 census, the youth actually make up 75% of the population of Kenya. And the government has actually not been able to create employment opportunities for our youth. All those coming from universities, technical institutions, vocational institutions, they are lacking in terms of jobs. So that means that our youth are actually poverty-stricken. But then, because I reckon that the world is a global village, the youth now have come up and they're leveraging the power of the digital space and the ubiquity of the internet, and they're now harnessing job creation and market forces to be able to do various things like content creation, to put food on the table. But then, of course, now we are seeing that the government now wants to stifle even that particular sector where the youth are flourishing. Then it means that the government do not actually appreciate the youth of this country in as much as that we are the majority. And in so many cases, when the youth are being measured, we are measured as a footnote at the end, that as part of this, we are going to include the youth in 1, 2, 3. But in the end of every conversation. So the point then is, what are we working for? What, if we're invigorating the economy, what for? For who? How? And the agenda should be for the youth, because we are the present and we are the future. But then again, like I was saying, by the way, a point that I needed to put across is that as much as we say that we are disenfranchised politically and economically as the youth, I also blame the youth in political spaces. For example, right now, we have very powerful youthful people in parliament holding very powerful positions, and I would like to mention them. For example, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, the MP for Kiharu, is youthful, and he actually chairs a powerful committee called the Budget and Appropriation Committee, which actually safeguards the fiscal responsibility of our country. Of course, and we have others like Honorable Kimani, who is also the chair of Finance and National Planning. People like Inchungwa, who is the majority leader, Sylvanus Osoro, who is the whip. These are youthful people. They understand our dynamics. They understand our problems. Then what happens when our representatives, our voices rise to power? Does it mean that when our people, especially the youth, make it and are going to represent us, instead of voicing our concerns, they actually go to bed with the executive? So our concern is not even about marginalization, disenfranchisement, and all that. Our question then should be the integrity of our social system. Because clearly, when everybody just tries to get voted in, whether you are a youth or not, and once you get to the top, you go to sleep with the executive, forgetting the youth.
Okay, so we, in terms of providing the prescription of the medication needed to address this problem, do you then agree, coming to you, Sopeo, that even some of the members of parliament who are youthful, the long list that she had mentioned, not regarding their political affiliations, the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah, Osoro, Babu Owino, and the likes, has there been enough voice from within the system towards the majority of the folks who are outside? And do you think that they are advocating and championing for your causes while they are inside?
Thank you, Ayub. Actually, our biggest failure as the youth is the people who say they represent us, because they don't. Once they are elected, when they are campaigning first, they always have very sweet policies. In fact, they are elected on platforms where they get to champion for the youth's rights. But once these people are elected and they go to parliament, I don't know what happens. I think it's because in this country we've created a culture, especially in the political space, they get rich quickly culture. So someone gets into parliament, is when such a weighty matter, like the finance bill right now, that the youths are looking up to him to reject it, because there is a hashtag going on, the Reject Finance Bill 2024. Once that such a bill is in parliament, those guys are usually compromised, and they are the first to say we are voting yes. And in fact, recently we've seen people getting their MPs' numbers and they're texting them, and they're even gracious enough to share the screenshots on the platform, social media platforms.
Even including that of the president.
Yeah. And some of the responses that they're getting from these MPs, youthful people, are quite shocking and baffling. So I say that we have not gotten that right representation as the youth, and we really need to raise a voice over this. I think one day we will be forced to occupy these positions and champion for the rights of the youth.
How different will you be from the current occupant?
I don't want to make such a political statement, but I think my conviction and my consciousness is strong. And I think it is solid enough such that when I promise people something, I can deliver.
Okay, yes, Vivian.
They had a conscience too. Even them, they had a conscience.
Yes, Vivian.
For me, I think on just the subject of Ndindi Nyoro, I remember prior to the 2022 election, I think this was in regard to the Finance Bill 2022.
Yes.
That was before they came into power. And he's on record saying that it's despicable. You know, he used very strong words. It's insensitive, inconsiderate for the government that was elected by people to add the cost of living to the people of Kenya. Mm-hmm. And even said, tafadhali angalia wa Kenya ambao walikuchagua ambao wanaumia. He was talking directly to Uhuru Kenyatta. But now that he's in government and chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, he's the one actually championing for punitive taxes that will raise the cost of living. It's like he's forgotten completely the same Kenyans he was talking about prior to election. There's a lot of double speak from a lot of the leaders, both young and not so young, in the Kenya Kwanza government, which is very, 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 very disappointing, because we expect better. We expect better, as much as the president is on record saying that he wants to be, leave a legacy like former President Kibaki. But in Kibaki's time, this is not how things were. At least you could see some sort of development. At least you could see money trickling in. Right now, it's like any time you raise your head to create content, you're slapped with a tax. Even before you figure out how can you make, ends meet. And I saw about a week or two ago when Shujaa, the Kenya Sevens rugby team, was celebrated for getting back into the HSBC series. Yeah. But I don't see any policies right now that have been set to actually support sports in Kenya, not just rugby, even football and all other sports, because these are the areas where young people can plug in and use their talents to build themselves. So it's like we're not putting money in the areas where young people can actually, thrive and build themselves. Mm-hmm. And in any areas where there seems to be just a bit of, potential, you're quickly, slapped with taxes. I've seen e-bikes, batteries, electronic motorcycles the taxes are going to go up. Mm-hmm. And yet these are the ones young people are using for, deliveries, for boda, and you're trying to push the agenda of electronic, driven vehicles, and you put tax there. So now, how exactly is someone? It's like counterintuitive, because how is someone supposed to thrive then in that sector if these are the areas available for young people to get income and build themselves, and before they can even, figure out how to navigate, you already slap them with taxes? How about we create a base where young people can thrive, build the economy, and then now, put taxes in this place that you have built.
Okay.
Because other economies that have thrived, like the Asian tigers we keep talking about and looking to, this is how they grew.
And they also fought corruption, is it?
And they also fought corruption.
Here we are talking about,
and they also fought corruption.
As you proceed, Vivian, because when you pointed out what the Kiharu lawmaker said in 2022, it was at the heat of the moment, because at the time they supported then Deputy President Dr. William Ruto.
Yes.
And they were largely aggrieved because some of them were unceremoniously plucked out of their plum parliamentary positions. Kimani Ichung'wah was removed as the chair of the budget committee. Then the leader of the majority party, then Aden Duale, was also weeded out. And the other influential positions they held simply because of the support they had for the deputy president. They are now in power, and they seem to be still detached from the reality on the ground. What does this wholesale failure in the leadership establishment mean then in terms of actionable points from what young people can do? Yet while you're seeing all this, you young Kenyans did not vote. I mean, those who did not vote, young Kenyans, are more than what the president garnered, more than what Raila Odinga got in the elections. Had you supported your own cause, then you can change the country's democratic landscape.
I guess Ayub,
you're seeing all these failures, but you're not actively taking part in the process that can actually change these things.
I think it's a progressive thing, and it's good that we're having these conversations, and it's good that more and more people, not just politicians, are taking up space in these conversations and making their thoughts known. Like you said, during the public presentations to the Finance and Planning Committee, there were a lot of young people, university students, people from all over, all walks of life, giving their views, which means progressively people are getting more involved, people are getting more engaged, and that's what we need. That's what we need, because when we get to 2027 elections, I hope that there will be more, young people participating in the voting exercise. And just one more thing I want to say, because there's something that one of the news items talked about, people getting numbers of the leaders, MPs, and everyone, and texting them. And there's this thing we always say, the voice of the people is the voice of God. If this is what the people are saying, I think the leaders should listen, because then it means God has spoken.
Okay.
And this regime has identified itself, especially Ruto is known as, God's chosen president. So if you're God's chosen president, then listen to the voice of God.
And because also the messages were to all parliamentarians with no regard for their political party belonging, because that's what the Kenyan people want. Yes, Alex, you had a point, please.
Yes, the problem with the young people, especially the young politicians, it's the party politics. Someone might have good intentions, somebody might have good ideas, then you get in there and you're told, okay, you're inside, no, this is the formula. Party leader has spoken, you have to follow the route. So which is why I was telling Kenyans, even in the last elections, I was telling, please, let's not make a mistake of voting, what would I say?
The party lineup.
Blanket.
Yes, the blanket type of voting. That's what messes us up. Because if we had an independent parliament, because for me, we have no parliament. Parliament is gone. And I don't, the Azimio MPs, some of them are also compromised. So we don't have a parliament. So the problem is party politics. Some people may come up with good ideas and everything, but they get into the parliament, it becomes impractical to follow those policies because of being compromised by party politics. That is the problem. So we need to actually work on the next election, a way of changing the formula of the parliament. The parliament needs to change. In fact, I'm going to make a challenge to the Kenyans. Every MP who is going to pass this bill, we should begin the process of recalling them. We have actually that right in the Constitution. In the Constitution, Article 1, it says power...
all sovereign power belongs to the people.
Belongs to the people. We should actually practice it and begin the process. This energy we have on social media of calling MPs, texting them, it doesn't really help. Once we show them we have the power by starting recalling these MPs, that is when it will get effective. Because I see Kenyan youth people, we are reactive but not pragmatic, which is why I didn't text any MP, because I didn't feel like that will have any effect. MPs will vote the way they've been told to vote, so I bother not to tax the MPs. I don't trust that they are practical. I don't trust that the parliament will do what requires to be done, because even if all opposition MPs decide to vote no and the other side, they have majority numbers, the thing will pass.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yes, Alex, I'll come to you.
Ayub, I think let me dive in from the point of the 75% population of young people that Nora mentioned. It is indeed true that the young people are the majority in terms of population and as far as KNBS is concerned. And the Constitution is very clear, Article 55, that the state has a responsibility to provide a conducive environment and provide employment opportunities for young people. The same state should ensure that the young people are protected from harmful cultural practices and exploitations. But look at the state. Look at the state that we are right now. Taxes on content creations, taxes on e-bikes, and these are areas that are majorly occupied by the young people. Then this tells us that the state is intentionally exploiting the youth bracket, and these, according to myself and how I think and how many people think out there, this should be classified as one of the most harmful cultural practices that this government is trying to put in place. Ayub,
have the previous ones different either?
No, but this one is extreme. We've not been in a situation like this before. Look at that. Where I buy my phone, I'm taxed. I buy a credit card, I'm taxed. I create a content from a house that I pay, and I'm still taxed from paying that house. And then I'm also taxed for creating that content to put myself in a situation where I can survive, because the same government who is supposed to provide an employment opportunity has failed to do so. So these are harmful practices that if you do not handle as early as now, they are going to be cultural, because it will be a norm of the day. Ayub, drawing back to what my brother has mentioned on the issues of party politics,
yeah.
I want to say, and this should be on record, that for the first time in 2027, we are not going to have voter apathy on young people. Young people are going to step up and vote because they've seen what not voting can do. And they now understand what voting can do. And I want to tell you for a fact, we had a serious voter apathy on young people in the last election. And this is the group that is now being punished by this regime. That's a learning corner. And I can tell you, my brother Alex, that from where I sit and the engagements I've had with the young people, 2027 will be a game changer. And those young MPs that are masquerading and roaming around and not doing the right thing that they should be doing in the parliament, most of them will go home. Not because somebody hates them, but the young people have risen up from the ground. As I finish on that, we had we've had the issue of what do you say? Views and we saw the public participation.
Yes.
Recently, Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina said that we do this public participation, but if this information comes to the parliament, we don't do much about it. That's a serious statement from a sitting member. Then that tells us that we do not do public participation. We participate in the public as a country, and that's very dangerous. We participate in the public, and that is very dangerous.
What do you mean by not doing public participation?
Not doing public participation what I mean is you walk into Savo Ballroom KICC, a room of 100 people, but there are specific 20 people will answer questions. Will ask questions, and they are strategically placed. And this is an experience that we've had before. You walk into a room of maybe 30. We're talking about finance. In fact, it happened during the housing levy issue. You walk into a room, majority are student leaders. You get that? They're saying, oh, you're doing public participation in Nairobi, you walk there, you find student leaders, and there are specific people who will ask questions. And if you appear stubborn, to be stubborn, you are thrown out. So it's a checkbook. You tick. That's not public participation. You're just participating in the public so that...
To be fair to the Finance and National Planning, I attended the last public participation at the KICC, and a majority who appeared before the committee had rejected some of the proposals contained in the bill. I saw no ejection of someone or neither was anyone muzzled from making his submissions. And clearly the committee works in a way that when you write to them, there's a list that the committee uses to be called. It's Ken's time, it's Alex's time, it's Spayo's time, for purposes of order, because it's like a parliament in session, so there must be order. Then, to be fair to it, submissions were made. But the question is, will all these submissions be factored in the final report? That is the question. Do you have confidence in the committee?
That's what I'm saying. And these are a communication, a statement that came from a sitting member. I'm talking from outside, but this is now somebody who sits from inside. And he said that at the point of factoring in and implementing these, the proposals, that's where there's big issue. We collect information, public information from the public, but once we arrive at the house, we now sit and decide on our own. Let me tell you, we have 19 million people living below poverty index. And these are the majority of, the bigger chunk of these 19 million people are the young people. Look at that. So the situation is not good outside there. And what we are seeing that, members of parliament are being texted. If you check keenly, the people who are texting are not even the elderly. These are a group of young people who have felt the heaviness and the weight of this economy. And I can tell you, and I'm still repeating, that for the first time since independence, young people are going to step up and vote.
Okay.
So that we can take home, if not this regime,
yes, I'll capture
but the sitting members who are not playing the exact role that they should play.
Okay, yes, Upeo.
Ayub, I want to say that they say it's every cloud has a silver lining, and it's only when it is dark enough that you get to see the stars. This Finance Bill 2024 is an awakening call, and we are going to experience a defining moment in Kenya, where you see the young people have always disregarded elections. Even yesterday, when I was crisscrossing the tweet, I saw someone say, it's only in this regime that I get to know there is anything like the Finance Act, the Finance Bill that changes after every year. So that tells you that the young people have awakened, and there is a revolution looming. And so today, this revolution will be led by none other than the young people. 2027 will be a defining moment for the people, for the political landscape in this country. And if these MPs are not careful enough, if they dare pass this finance bill, I'm afraid that none of them will go back to that house. But politicians usually have a tendency of oppressing people at the first years of their terms. But when we are nearing elections, we usually see, I don't know what magic happens. They are your friends now. They get to listen to your voices. But again, this time round, we are going to keep this script. And even yesterday, I saw somebody suggesting that we will get the photos of all those MPs who will vote yes and erect in the billboards. And that should happen, because the people must be shamed in this country for things to happen. Extraordinary things must happen in this country.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely, young people have awakened, and today their voice must be heard. They're even going to invoke Article 1, sovereignty of the people. They are going to exercise it by themselves. Now they are not going to rely on their representatives.
Yes, Alex.
Actually, to add to what Ken Babu was saying, basically public participation is a cosmetic process. It's just a process done in terms of formality. That is it's been cheapened, it's been bastardized. In the previous finance bill, my party, we actually sat down and we came up with a proposal to the Finance Act 2023. And we tried to meet with the committee of MP Kuria Kimani, but they said we couldn't meet them, so they told us to email them our proposals, which we did. At least they took some of the, one point actually from the whole thing we proposed for them. So public participation, if it is effective, we should have seen changes in the policies. That is how we actually measure how public participation is. Right now, we actually sat as a party, we decided, are we going to propose ideas to these people? We say, no, there's no point, because they will still do whatever they've decided. Because when the bill was formulated,
yes,
and some of us believe this bill came from outside forces, I believe that our physical policy is being decided by foreign institutions like IMF, World Bank, World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
Yes, these are the people who are actually praising our government. They're saying Kenya is looking like having potential for growth. Everyone else, including the sovereign, we are in dismay, we are complaining, but the foreign institution, they're encouraging us. You know, Kenyans you need to wake up and realize IMF, World Bank, these are not NGOs. I think some Kenyans look at this institution like NGOs that help Kenya. These are savage capitalists. These are business people. They're in the business of loaning countries and getting interest. And the more they loan us, the more we pay them. For them, it's business. Kenyans need to wake up and start actually asking questions. Why is it that the IMF and the World Bank is so much involved in the Kenyan economy than even other countries?
Okay, I'll come to you both. Hilda, is there anything that mirrors the recent demands for proper fiscal reforms as called for by the IMF in yesterday's statement, which was presented by the CS?
Sorry, just which statement?
Yeah, by the CS, the Treasury CS, the budget. Is there anything that mirrors some of the demands that the IMF had put on the table in terms of budget cuts, I mean, and living within our means? The proposals as the IMF had made in its recent sittings with government officials, is there anything that mirrors some of these demands?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ayub. I think for the demand from IMF, as he says, of course, there are people who loan the government money. And of course, one of the demands is that you need to ensure that you have measures to curb your expenses and manage your growth. So for IMF, I think one of the things that the minister presented was that there'll be austerity measures to ensure that we check our expenses as well, in as much as we are trying to build our revenue. But of course, it's when the rubber meets the road, it's about what actually happens on the ground. You can have all these austerity measures that are on paper, but what actually happens on the ground is that we are still a very expensive country. The things are made expensive because of the grand corruption that we see. So that is something that has to be checked and something that has to be done positively by the government, not just by talk. Mm-hmm. Because the frustration, I think, for the youth is that it's all talk. But what we need is actual evidence that the government is keen on ensuring these austerity measures are actually put in place. Yeah. I think that's one of the demands that IMF had.
Yes, Nora, and then I'll come to you.
Actually, I was going to top up on what my brother was talking about in terms of the mandate for our MPs. So what I was going to say is that we need to urge also our members of parliament not to abdicate on their responsibility of oversight, legislation and representation, and that we have to also remind them that they are our watchdog. They should not be turned into lapdogs. They should not be just a chihuahua that is going to be given directions on what needs to be done and then patted on the back after they have followed all the instructions. We've sent them there to oversight and interrogate every single expenditure by the government. And if that does not happen, then it begs the question, what exactly are you doing in parliament? We should be able to recall them. And of course, we also need to encourage the judiciary, together with the legislature, to actually be very firm in their crucial role in creating the bulwarks against authoritarian tendencies. Because like it looks like people are just being called and given directives on what needs to be done, and that our MPs do not have a voice, and our MPs have actually been muzzled. So they should send us a signal. If there's anybody who's trying to stifle their voices in parliament, then we can be able to rise above as the sovereign people of this country and go against whoever is trying to muzzle the voices of our MPs.
Yes, Vivian.
I wanted to add that just in addition, the second part of Article 1 actually says the people may exercise this sovereign power that they have either directly or through their elected representatives. My key word there is directly. If our elected representatives fail us as Kenyans, we should be aware that this sovereign power that we have, we can actually exercise it directly. So Parliament, just, be warned. I saw that President Ruto said that he's waiting to see which MPs will vote, against the bill. But as Kenyans, we are also waiting to see which MPs will vote, for this bill against our wishes as a sovereign people of Kenya. And just to mention that when CS Ndungu read through, the budget statement, I noticed that the executive got 2.3 trillion, if I'm not wrong, which is about 58% of our 3.9 trillion budget. Honestly, I'm really shocked. I'm like, 58% of the national budget is going to executive. I feel like something is wrong there. There needs to be adjustment. It means I am working to pay taxes to pay the executive. And that doesn't sit well with me at all. And then the other thing I want to say is, yesterday in PS Treasury's interview, when he was put to task about some of these proposals and the origin, because Treasury essentially comes up with these proposals and tables them before Parliament. And, he was like, those are the proposals they've given, and if the people of Kenya have different views, they should give them. And I'm like, that's abdicating your duty. The reason you are PS of a ministry, you are the technocrat, you are the one that's your job. Like, your job is to look through and provide the best possible, solutions for Kenya so that it benefits all Kenyans. It's not Kenyans' jobs to come now and give you suggestions. That's why you're paid a salary. You're there to serve Kenyans. So I felt that was very careless, of the PS as a technocrat in Treasury, someone who understands, economics and finances and all that. You're supposed to be the guru in these things, not waiting for now Kenyans to come and complain and say, motor vehicle tax. But if a whole PS can't even explain why it's necessary to charge, motor vehicle tax, it's very, very disappointing. And then lastly, I just want to talk about Ruto pledging in his pre-campaign speeches and statements that, he would be working to reduce poverty. But the funny thing is, more Kenyans are slipping into poverty. We are busy talking about taxes. Nobody's talking about incomes. Incomes are not going up, but taxes keep going up. It's not housing levy, it's not SHIF, it's not NSSF, and now motor vehicle tax. It's like every proposal is to eat into your salary or income, and there doesn't seem to be any proposal about how your incomes will go up to support these taxes. Okay.
Ken Babu, then is there a hope in the essence that, or whether there is a change in how the voters or the public are lessening the proximity between them and their representatives in Parliament, going by the story that we had just aired before we started this conversation of MPs now appearing to be holding up under pressure from members of the public? Is there an overflow of the awareness now getting into Parliament and now putting pressure on the representatives of the people? And do you think this is informed by a radical shift in how the Kenyan people want change and the engagement, therefore, they have with their representatives at the National Assembly and the Senate?
Thank you, Ayube. First, I would like to say that many people, and in fact, I think Kenyans have woken up. And that's why you're having this situation where now the MPs are getting pressure so piled up, compelling them to vote against the finance bill and look into the budget keenly. Initially, we've not had people talk about finance bill and all that sort. But this time around, Kenyans are out there talking about the finance bill and picking up issues with the bill. And that I can surely confirm that there is a lot of pressure from outside, and the MPs are feeling the pressure, and that's the representation of what is on the ground. That's the reality. But I would like to say that we have 349 members of Parliament. Out of them, we elected 290 to represent each constituency, and then 47 women, and then, of course, 12 nominated. These are the people who will have the final say on that finance bill. Because at the floor of the House, I don't vote. At the floor of the House, you don't vote. Yeah. They are the ones who will vote. And if they decide to go the straight ballot way, we'll not know who did not vote and who voted. If they decide to go the other way, we can tell. But I can tell you for a fact, because of lack of integrity in some, not all, and because due to lack of people not have stand and cannot take make a decision on behalf of the people against their interest, they might decide to go on the ballot. The secret ballot way. But I can say for a fact, Ayub, if the members of parliament decides to pass the bill, the person who is going to suffer the most is the electorate. And that's why I want to finish by saying, 2027, not only the young people, but this country is going to wake up and people will go to the ballot. You see that number that we had, the majority did not vote, they will vote. And the issue that we had is first-timers, people who voted for the second time in 2022, they felt somehow disappointed with the previous election in 2017. Okay. But this time around, people who voted first time in 2022 will be more energized to go and vote, not to make a difference, but to send home the representatives whom they sent to the parliament and have failed not to do. Okay. So, as I finish on that, I wanted to put up something about the allocations, budget allocations, and I'm picking on the county governments. There's an additional addition to that up to 400 billion. There's no problem with that. At least resources are being, allocated close to the people. But the issue is on accountability and how the money will be used. We've seen and we've had county governments that misappropriate funds. And that's the biggest problem you have, the governors. And that's why we are saying that a former governor should not even be allowed to contest for an MCA. A former governor, once you've served 2 terms as a governor, just go home and relax, so that if there's an issue of accountability and misappropriations, we can have enough time to scrutinize and have you account for everything that you...
But there is also corruption at the national level.
Yes, there is, but at the county, I can tell you.
In fact, more.
More at the national level.
At the national level, because we have so much focus there. But at the county that we are not looking at, that's where we breed.
But corruption is corruption.
It is corruption.
It's a theft of public money.
But what I'm saying is, this 400 billion, we need to put an eye on it. We need to put a check on it, so that we don't send resources at the county level to individuals' pockets.
Okay. Hilda, from then finance and economics perspective, what does the freezing on employment mean here for the government for the next 1 year? Does it mean there will be no more absorption going forward? And what do you think might have informed that statement which was made by the Treasury CS yesterday?
Yeah, thank you, Ayub. I think for freezing of employment, it's one of the austerity measures that they have put in place. And what I think the government wants to do is audit their staff. Their staff within government, and ensure that what we are paying for are real people. Because one challenge, of course, that we've had is ghost workers. So this is an opportunity for them to actually go through their payroll and ensure they weed out if there are any ghosts in there that they are dealt with. However, at the same time, sometimes they say they freeze, but then you hear appointments being done. So it's just what I said before, you walk the talk. If for sure you're freezing employment, it means there are many people who have finished college, and these are the young people who then, in the next period, are not supposed to get the opportunity to serve in government. But now, at the same time, you hear that there are other appointments which are being done. So it's ensuring for the government, it's for the youth to also hold the government accountable. If this is what you say you're going to do, then do it. Because we know, on paper, it looks good. But what does it actually mean in the real sense?
In terms of actualization. And do you see, because of the past decisions that were made, but no follow-up in terms of actions, then this is likely going to be the likely trend again?
Yes, that's likely going to be the trend, that we say one thing now, and just a few months down the line, we have forgotten this story. Because that's what, as Kenyans, we do, unfortunately. This is hot for now, and in a few months, we're talking about something else. An eye has to be kept on this thing to hold people accountable, not just for the moment, but continuously. Because we are the people. We are the people. We are Kenyans. And this is our money. This is our government. We elected these people. And, of course, this is their moment as the National Assembly, their moment to show us that for sure they have their eye on the ground as well. They are representing us in Parliament. How they vote for this will show whether they, for sure, listen to the people.
Thank you. Let's now sample the feedback here on the broadcast. And after that, I give you each 1 minute of 1 minute to make your final remarks here. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Frank Orinde says the Kenya Kwanza government is insensitive on the plight of the citizenry. Look at the vehicle tax, the 2.5% tax on the value of the vehicle is double taxation. The value of a car is inclusive of all taxes. So why introduce 2.5%? PS Kipto and Honda Bakuri Kimani both have failed to explain it. Godi Barasaware says it doesn't make any logical sense for the cement manufacturers to get lower duty on clinker and the youth in creative industry to be told that their tool, which is the internet and digital presence, will be subjected to some sort of levy. It's sad, he says. Sadixon Ndugure says, used correctly, a budget shouldn't oppress a nation. It shouldn't be restrictive. It should empower the people. Babu Michelle K says, as much as our country is choking with debt, which is also our first priority when it comes to expenditure from the consolidated fund, it's sad that these debts can't be traced to real projects across the country. This is the real concern. Alikandas Konjagi says the level of incompetence from the PS when they can't explain the bill is alarming and Kenyans need change. Bobo Tieno Wino says yesterday's budget was a big win for Kenyans, especially on agriculture, education. Women and youth have received more funding, a good move on hike of alcohol and cigarettes to cushion alcoholism menace among the youth. Gabi Wakasiaka says the financial bill decision is particularly disheartening for the young generation who are already facing significant challenges such as high unemployment rates and limited economic opportunities as they struggle to build their future. Ole Shonko says, I think the government wants overnight success, but it can't be achieved through overtaxation. Let's support various industries to grow and expand the tax base instead. Babu Michelle K again says, is this Finance Bill 2024 something very important happened? Members of the public, which I'm sure are mostly the youths, took their time to directly send messages to legislators. This must be a wake-up call for all legislators. Things are bad. Okelo Mwalimu says, youth, let no one lie to you that there is anything to smile about on this oppressive and insensitive budget. You will soon pay taxes on your basic motor vehicle. You will be soon be punished for being creative. You will soon find it difficult to buy a diaper, etc. Dere ameamua kwenda. Gabi Wakasiaka says the value-added tax of 16% on financial transaction will affect SMEs who rely on mobile banking services. The VAT will affect credits, making it difficult for common mwananchi to access credits. Youth, it's high time we take part in governance. Engineer Lazaro says this is the worst budget ever for the economic growth. Punitive taxes see several informal employments being shut down and several investors leaving Kenya and en masse. Godi Barasawere, looking at the number of trips the president has made, he's in Italy this morning, by the way, out of the country vis-a-vis the gains emanating from the same trips shows no gainful balance. It has come to a point where we need to impose a tax on every trip the head of state makes. Gabi Wakasiak again says the problem about us, the youth, is that we elect leaders who treat us like demigods for this amalgamation of political nonsense of our MPs. Youths have to rise from their comfort zones regardless of the agenda or vicinity. I begin with you, Alex. Final comments here?
Yeah, so first of all, we need to audit. We are talking about Finance Bill 2024. But we have not talked about what did we attain with the Finance Bill 2023. For example, the woman rep for Nairobi said she voted for the Finance Bill 2023 simply because of housing levy. But how many houses do we have? We don't even have data on that. In fact, people in Mathare, if I'm not wrong, up to now, they're still homeless, the ones who face demolition. Yeah. So we need to actually audit not just the Finance Bill 2023, we actually need to audit our debt because we have 11 trillion debt, but we don't see what this money did on the ground. Some money cannot be explained where it went. So we have to take time and actually do an audit first before we pay these taxes. Yes. Otherwise, it becomes a formula of oppression.
Thank you. Nora, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. What I need to tell our MPs is that on this matter of the Finance Bill 2024, we have to reject it in totality, because actually most of MPs will actually get out of parliament, hide somewhere in travel so that they're not going to vote. And we need to tell them that silence is not neutrality, and that silence is actually consent. You are actually siding with the oppressor. So you need to come to parliament and vote out this finance bill so that we need real amendments that are going to invigorate the economy.
Thank you. Yes, Supayo.
Okay, I want to say that Chinua Achebe says that one of the truest tests of integrity is its blunt refusal to be compromised. I want to tell this to our leaders, and I hope they listen, that day of voting for that draconic bill, you must go there and vote and reject that bill. Otherwise, a day of reckoning will come and you will feel the wrath of the people.
Thank you. Yes, Hilda.
Thank you. My final comments are, of course, to the legislators. This is their moment, the moment to show that they have their touch on the ground, to inspire trust with Kenyans, and when voting for this bill, to be very clear on what they support, what they don't support, and so that it's evident that for sure they know what happens on the ground and they're able to be for the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Vivian.
For me, it's just a question. How do we raise taxes by about 16 to 20% when the economy is only supposedly growing at 5%? You cannot tax us into prosperity. And I'll just finish with a verse that Ruto used to criticize Uhuru during their campaign. He said, it's Isaiah 10:1, and it says, "Woe to you, to those who make unjust laws, and to those who issue oppressive decrees." That is to the president and all the MPs who are even thinking or imagining they're voting yes for this bill.
Thank you. Yes, Ken Babu.
Yes, thank you so much, Ayub. Mine is just to say that...
and is your tie symbolic as the colors of your party?
We are with the people. We are on the side of Wananchi. Mine is to say that, just to tell members of parliament that any member of parliament who will campaign for this finance bill, any member of parliament who will not decampaign this finance bill, any member of parliament who will imagine or decide to abstain from voting in this finance bill, is the enemy, number one enemy of Kenyans, and is a good friend of the Satan. And therefore, all members of parliament should step up and take a responsibility to defend this country and defend a generation. Finally, the young people of this country must make it intentional to come up in 2027 and run for those seats, number one. Secondly, vote against anybody who will support this finance bill that makes their life so difficult that they cannot even survive. A young man cannot even get married because the life is so difficult. So that's what
is it time to do mass weddings?
Maybe. I think can I add a point?
Yes, briefly, 10 seconds.
Our president, during the campaign, promised to give women free sanitary pads. And
diapers.
Diapers. But now, diapers is being taxed. So I want women MPs, especially, to be careful how they vote, because the women of Kenya are watching.
Thank you.
We've been lied to.
Your time is all appreciated. Lovely to have you, ladies and gentlemen, here. Nora Bosibori is a policy analyst with us in the studio this morning. Also in her company, Vivian Tar, communications and public affairs expert. Thank you for your time. Ken Babu, the National Youth Chairperson, the Democratic Action Party of Kenya. Alex Mayore, communications director, the Third Way Alliance Party. Supeo Semenkur, youth leader from Kajiado County and a lawyer. Hilda Mawanda is a financial expert who joined us this morning, also expounding on the statement yesterday presented before the National Assembly by the Treasury Cabinet CS, Professor Njuguna Ndongo. Lovely having you, ladies and gentlemen. Always a pleasure hearing from the young folks, and always a pleasure giving you the platform here to air your views, for all this is about a consolidation and the strengthening of our democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to you too for waking up with us here on the broadcast and your feedback. At the top of the hour from 9 a.m., I'll be back with another different conversation altogether, and the day of the African child. 3 panelists will be with me in the studio then, and here you are on your stints at the moment. They will be with me from 9 a.m. and we'll be having that conversation on the International Day of the African Child, celebrated every 16th of June annually in the annual calendar. That will be a discussion we'll be having in the next 1 hour. And we'll see you then. Till then, good morning.